Welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be reviewing Netflix's Japanese television series, My Husband Won't Fit. I will be breaking down the show episode by episode, so if you don't want to know what happens, please click away, because this video will contain major spoilers for the entire series. But if you already watched the show or don't mind being spoiled, then let's dive in. This critique will be divided into 3 sections. 1. Episodes 1 to 5. 2. 6 to 10, and 3, a more thorough review/analysis of the entire series. This video will be covering episodes 6 to 10, so I suggest watching the first part of this 3-part critique on my channel if you haven't already, and look forward to my third video where I will complete this 3-part saga. But for now, let's get started and finish off this roller coaster of a series. Kumi is typing on her computer to another stranger, talking about how she recently slept with someone who wasn't her husband. She then narrates how Ken continues to go to the brothel, and as the number of stamps increase, his bank account goes down. He doesn't eat breakfast anymore, but Kumi cooks for him every day anyways. Ken is also very sloppy when it comes to hiding his infidelity. He has never been clever about it, but lately it's grown even more obvious. He leaves erotic videos in the DVD player and wads of tissues piling up in trash bags. Kumi acknowledges this evidence, but doesn't do anything about it. It matters less to Kumi to confront Ken at this point, because she too is now going outside of her marriage. She meets up with a new man in a parking lot and engages in intercourse at a love hotel. It's in no way sexual, despite it being the most sexual act one can do, because the view we get is just a stranger enjoying himself whilst Kumi is lying still on her back. Although Kumi purposely engages in this act this time, we don't see her as someone who enjoys it. In fact, it looks more like a job she has to do rather than something she wants to do. A few days pass and another man meets up with Kumi for what the audience can assume to be another sexual encounter. But this one is a little bit different. This stranger requests to hike up a mountain. And during this hike, my best guess about why he'd want to come up here is to have sex in public. A little exhibitionism, if you will. But instead, he tells Kumi to wait for a moment so that he can pleasure himself at the very height of the mountain. His pants are down and he's touching himself erratically while moaning into the air, gaining a high off of doing this outdoors. No need to worry about hearing of more sexual oddities, because after this scene, we return to Kumi's school life. Miyuki and her classmates run Kumi's classroom, and the other teachers hold a meeting with a couple of the students' mothers about this issue. What basically happens is that the mothers blame Miyuki for their children behaving poorly, and Kumi's co-workers agree. But Kumi is the only one who disagrees and says that Miyuki is not the only rotten apple out of the bunch. The other students have equal responsibility to be respectful, and they just choose not to be. Miyuki is not some mind controller who can force these kids to do her bidding. They have their own choices to make, and they choose to be just as horrible as Miyuki. The mothers don't find this reasoning to be helpful at all, and one of them stands up and yells, saying that that is simply not true. Her child was a very kind person before Miyuki came into her life, and it's only Miyuki's fault that the whole class is a terror upon the school. Nobody is on Kumi's side after this meeting, and her co-workers are very angry with her that she would defend Miyuki despite her efforts to wreak havoc. While this episode is on the topic of Miyuki, we go back to her complex where Kumi finally has a conversation with her mother. It isn't anything valuable though. It just goes, "I need to talk about Miyuki." "Why? I have to go out soon." "Is it for work?" "Is that your business?" And Miyuki's mother shuts the door in Kumi's face. However, Miyuki herself reopens the door to talk to Kumi, asking her what she wants. Kumi says she just wants to talk to her mother, but Miyuki straight up says no because there's a man inside. You're a woman, so you must understand. Kumi persists in trying to talk to the mother, but Miyuki goes, "Can you go away already? Look, if you do, I'll be nice tomorrow, okay?" And shuts the door in Kumi's face. I hope you liked that mountain guy from earlier, because the scene changes to another day with him and Kumi hiking the same mountain, talking about her problems with Miyuki. What's funny is that their conversation sounds very genuine, like he understands Kumi's ordeal because he's dealt with it before. He's thrown out that he was once a teacher himself who had a mental breakdown and quit his job, and I was waiting for that moment where Kumi put two and two together and realized that he was the former teacher that she replaced. Yet that idea is not even entertained. He just says this and they move on. And you might say, well, it doesn't have to be spelled out for you. The audience will get it. But if he is in fact the former teacher, why didn't he recognize Miyuki? When Kumi talks about her, it should have reminded him of her right away. But it doesn't. So it's safe to assume that the mountain guy and Kumi never taught the same class, although this was a big opportunity that was missed out on. You can see that Kumi feels heard by someone and it pleasantly surprises her. This couple might actually work out, but then you're hit in the face with the true reason why they're even together. She watches the mountain guy do his thing atop the mountain once again. Kumi takes on another man in a love hotel who is bounding her up with rope. He cares enough about Kumi to ask, why is she even doing this to herself? In his words, "You're like a free prostitute." Kumi doesn't answer his question. She also doesn't react to him being inside of her at first, but eventually, when we get a closer look at Kumi's face, she slowly cracks from her blank expression and bursts into tears. It's very sad to look at, because not only are the tears coating her face, she's letting out loud noises, expressing her pain. The man is understandably confused and gets off her. After taking time out to calm down, the man asks Kumi if she's okay, and Kumi says that she is, saying that it felt good after letting it all out. Kumi knows that her life is a mess, but it doesn't seem like she can stop this road she's taking, as she meets up with yet another man in a parking lot late at night to engage in what appears to be a food fetish activity. He force feeds Kumi some pastries before making out with her, with the food still in her mouth. This continues for an uncomfortably long time before they part ways. Somber music accompanies this scene, telling us that Kumi has gone so deep down the rabbit hole that she is only left as an object for other men's desires. She clearly doesn't enjoy it, but she hasn't stopped herself either. Kumi is the embodiment of a woman who doesn't love herself. Back at school, Kumi no longer cares to establish order in the classroom. The kids can do whatever they want. That is, until Kumi spots a familiar's face outside of her school. The first man she met from the online chat website, her attacker. He's standing outside in the rain with a little preschool girl, smiling up at Kumi. Kumi can't believe this. How did he even know she worked here? If things weren't stressful enough, now her attacker has found her at her workplace? Kumi snaps. She orders the classroom to quiet down and get in their seats to do their work. This is the very first time that Kumi has ever been so aggressive, so the kids do as they're told to not further awaken her wrath. Miyuki follows as well, but not before giving Kumi a glare boiling with hatred. For the first time, Kumi glares back. When she is free, Kumi runs out to meet her attacker outside, where he tells her that he's going to move away soon with his daughter to another state for work purposes, and he wanted to see Kumi one last time to warn her about something. He informs her that she has built a reputation on the chat website for being a whore. That's why so many men have been filing up to meet with her in person. Kumi, surprised by this revelation, says that she thought this site was meant to help people with personal problems, but her attacker laughs in her face. "It was never a website to just chat," he replies. "It was a dating site, and you're very popular on it. Everyone wants to get with you because you give up your body so easily." The man then hands Kumi a gel bottle in hopes of helping her in the bedroom with Ken, as a parting gift. Another sad melody plays in the background as the man laughs at Kumi, and Kumi herself is filled with nothing but embarrassment and regret. The end of this episode has Kumi returning home to vent to Ken about her troubles at her school. She doesn't know how much longer she could take it being around those kids, so Ken advises her to just quit. It sounded so easy coming out of Ken's mouth, so Kumi needed to be reassured that he's okay with this. He says that he's totally fine if she quits, and he will be the sole breadwinner of the household. Sex is not love. That's it. That's the whole episode. Episode 7 is a Ken-centered episode, where we get his perspective on the events leading up to now. I've mentioned briefly how out of the pair, I favored Ken's personality more than Kumi's, because he was someone likable enough to feel disappointed in when he does the wrong thing. But in here, I realized how much of a self-entitled, passive-aggressive, wannabe woke fool he is. He starts off the episode by saying that he can't bear to see Kumi smile anymore, because he knows it's fake, since he's been purposely leaving evidence of his infidelity around the household. He knows that she knows about his cheating, and hopes that someday Kumi will confront him about it, but she never does. You see, because they're both hiding their true feelings. Next we go back in time where Ken first starts sleeping around at the brothel. Normally, the women working at the brothel give massages and baths to their guests, but one woman decides to sleep with Ken. Ken tells her oh so eloquently that you slept with me because you fell in love with me, not for the money. So when we do something wrong, we must have a reason. In a scene that nearly gave me a heart attack, we find Ken talking to one of his female students atop the school building. The student vents about how her boyfriend wants to sleep with her because he loves her. Ken advises her to tell her boyfriend that sex isn't love. He reminds his student of transitive property. A equals B equals C, therefore A equals C. Using this example, Ken explains that sex equals reproduction equals instinct, therefore sex equals instinct. There is no room for love. The student doesn't understand and asks, then when does love come in? Ken answers, love is trust, but trust is not love. Therefore love is not sex. Sex is supposed to be done when people want to have children, but it feels too good. If sex didn't feel good, will we still be having it? Probably not, according to Ken, because then it would only be referred to when wanting to have kids. After this long explanation, the student asks a bold question. You're unhappy, aren't you? You're not happy in your marriage? Ken refutes this accusation, saying that there's no couple happier than him and Kumi. The student pauses before changing the subject to say goodbye to Ken so she could head back inside the school. So why did this give me a heart attack? Well, almost. Well, you can tell by the dialogue that this is not something to discuss with a student. Talking about sex in high school, in any regard, doesn't seem appropriate. And the fact that the two were alone gave me the impression that they were going to be intimate with one another. A lot of things I didn't expect happened before, so I was on my toes preparing for the next twist. Ken is with a new woman at the brothel, where he talks about why he never requests to be with the same woman twice. It's because having sex is more fun when it's foreign, and you don't grow to love the person. This woman, who he is confessing to, is my favorite character in this episode. And through the whole series, as a matter of fact, because she calls him out on his nonsense. She starts off by stating that, believe it or not, she did go to college, and she sees through all the sugarcoating Ken is trying to do. In reality, Ken is just treating women like objects. She doesn't judge him for it though, because she does the same thing with her clients, since this business is solely focused on superficial desires. After we get a brief montage of Ken leaving evidence of his cheating for Kumi to find around the house, we get another scene with him and this woman, where she recommends that he tries to talk things through with his wife. Ken is upset by this and says, "What do you know about my life?" The woman replies, "I thought you wanted someone to talk to about your problems." And I said, "Good for her. How are you going to talk about your issues and not expect any advice? Ken laments about his decisions and says that he should have never come to the brothel and will never step foot in it again. That night, we repeat the last scene from episode 6, where Ken tells Kumi to quit her job if she's unhappy. And I guess that's fine, because Ken doesn't want to spend money on the brothel anymore, so he would be trustworthy enough to handle money around. But not like Kumi knows that. Ken tells Kumi that he's going to visit his parents again, which we all know at this point that that's code for having another affair. But what do you know? He actually did need to visit his parents. He sees them and his sister, and everyone is excited about the sister being pregnant with their first grandchild. However, they're still waiting on Ken to have a child of his own. Since he's a male, it's valued more if he has a child, because then that child can carry on the family name. Ken is so stressed by this amount of pressure because he knows it's impossible to have children with Kumi. So he goes back on his word and goes to the brothel again, where he has sex with a new woman. Mirroring the scene where Kumi cries during her tryst, Ken begins to cry while the woman is pleasuring him. He pushes the woman off and rolls over in shame. Back at the house, Ken talks to Kumi where he hears something that he never expected to come out of her mouth. Tomorrow, I need to visit my parents. Kumi ponders on her life and why she became the person that she is. She quit her teaching job and has all the time in the world to wonder about this, which leads to her remembering parts of her childhood that were once repressed. Young Kumi is seen covering her ears to block out the sounds of her parents arguing at night when the father would come home from being out. The mother would vent to anyone and everyone about her troubles at home, and eventually, the mother moves out from the home with her 2 youngest daughters, leaving Kumi behind with her father. This scene, after watching it twice, still befuddles me. Because I think back in episode 2, we were told by Kumi's aunt that the mother was unable to leave due to not having any money. And the parents are still together when Kumi is an adult, so either 2 things happened. 1, the mother tried to live on her own with her 2 kids, but couldn't and came back. Or 2, the story messed up its own plot. In present time, Kumi receives a phone call from her mother, who informs her that a family member has passed away. Kumi's grandmother's older sister, Etsuko, died, and they will be having a funeral for her, so Kumi should travel to pay her respects. Fast forward a bit, and we are at the funeral, where Kumi reunites with an old friend. The 2 venture off to an abandoned hut where Etsuko used to give little kids tamayokan, which is a Japanese sweet made of asuki, or red bean, agar, and sugar. But there was more to the lady than that. Kumi's friend reveals that Etsuko was the first woman he ever slept with when he was a child. Etsuko would invite all the little boys in the neighborhood to sleep with her in exchange for a tamayokan. At night, Kumi dreams about meeting Etsuko, who complains about how out of all the boys she slept with, only Kumi's friend showed up to her funeral. Etsuko also apologizes to Kumi because she thinks that she is unable to sleep with her husband because she slept around too much. To make up for this, Etsuko decides to give Kumi a tamayokan, but something is weird about this treat. When Etsuko pokes a hole in the tamayokan, a little voice cries out, "It hurts!" in Ken's voice. Etsuko doesn't hear this voice and continues to poke holes in other tamayokan, having Ken's voice continuously cry out, "It hurts! It hurts!" Kumi begs for this to stop, but it's never ending, and even large black balloons drop from the ceiling during this madness. It's the funniest moment in the series for me, and it was a nice refresher from the main plot. When the funeral is completed, our main character visits her mother and 2 sisters. The sisters are happy to announce that they are both pregnant, and they hope Kumi will follow suit. So Kumi returns home to Ken, where she says that she wants to try something new. She brings out the gel that her attacker gave her during their last meeting, and Kumi and Ken stare at each other, bracing themselves for the challenges ahead. We see the outcome of their attempt at making love using the gel, and it looks like it failed. Kumi encourages Ken to keep trying, but Ken says that he can't go through it because it hurts her and she bleeds so much. Besides, he tells her that he doesn't equate sex with love, so they don't need to have sex in their marriage. But Kumi brings up, "Don't you want to have kids?" And Ken reassures her, saying that there are other ways to have children, and it would be cool for Kumi to give birth as a virgin. "You'll be the Virgin Mary," he says. Kumi doesn't find this amusing. She just stares at Ken for a long time, which makes Ken think that something is wrong. Kumi dashes out of the bedroom and into the kitchen. Ken follows her and hears her when she says that she's not a virgin. The following 15 minutes can be summed up like this. Kumi reveals that she's not a virgin. Ken gets angry. Ken leaves the house, but not before Kumi confesses that she knows about his infidelity. Ken leaves for several days, leaving Kumi in utter disarray. Messy hair, lying around the house, and eating little to no food. But then she has an idea. Kumi drives to their old apartment where they first met. It's abandoned now, but Kumi wants to check it out anyways. And surprise, surprise, Ken thought of the same thing. The two explore the apartment and reminisce about better times, before coming to the conclusion that they don't really need sex to love each other, because they've missed one another during their time apart. The couple kiss and share an intimate moment in the apartment without any penetration, but that's totally okay with them. A gynecologist examines Kumi and suggests that she continues checking up on her so she could try to be able to have a baby naturally, but Kumi turns this down. She shares the news with Ken about her turning down the offer before the scene changes to nighttime, where Kumi shows up at Miyuki's complex. Remember Miyuki, the problem child in her old classroom? Well, it had to have been about a year or two since episode 9, because Miyuki looks older and in school uniform instead of regular clothes. Kumi wishes to speak solely to Miyuki in her apartment, and Miyuki allows this to happen. Miyuki tells Kumi that she was surprised that she quit her job and was upset to not see her again. Another teacher took her spot, and that lady was way more strict. She wasn't fun to learn from at all. But Miyuki attends a new school and joined a basketball team, which explains why she's home so late. Kumi offers Miyuki some small cakes to eat, and Miyuki takes one. As the little girl eats, Kumi observes that her mother is nowhere to be found, so she asks her where she is. Apparently, the mother got a stable boyfriend to be around, so she's spending time with him. But in what appeared to be the most likable moment for Miyuki, she reassures Kumi to not feel sorry for her. That one line told me so much about who she was as a person, but I'd like to go deeper into that in my third video. Kumi opens up to Miyuki about her own mother and how she never felt loved by her. So Miyuki laughs and says that Kumi should be the one being pitied. No hard feelings are taken though, as Kumi asks if she could visit Miyuki again. Miyuki says yes. We now get a scene with Kumi and her parents where she announces that she doesn't plan on ever having children. The parents are taken aback and are so upset about this that they feel the need to meet Ken's parents so that they can apologize for Kumi's refusal to be a mother. Ken's parents feel the same way, saying that they should apologize for Ken not wanting children. The parents quickly realize that Kumi and Ken are on the same page of not wanting children, and because of this, they start playing the blame game. You're the one who encouraged your son not to want kids. Oh yeah, if your daughter had more loving parents, she'd want to be a parent herself. This goes on for some time, before Kumi breaks up the fight and states that it's nobody's fault that they want to remain childless. It's a decision that they came up with together and they're sticking to it. Once they're alone, Kumi and Ken laugh about their silly parents and how they were fighting with one another. Several years later, and Kumi is back to being an elementary school teacher, and she and Ken go about their daily lives. Ken spots a family with a small child, and it looks like he may be getting some second thoughts. But when he meets up with Kumi, Kumi tells him that she doesn't need sour grapes, no matter how sweet they may be. Rewind a bit. So earlier in the episode, Kumi talks about Aesop's fables, about a fox trying to eat sour grapes from a tree that he is unable to reach. He tries super hard to get them, and eventually he does, only to discover that he doesn't like the taste. and claims that it wasn't worth trying so hard to get them in the first place. This is what Kumi is referring to when talking about having kids and having sex. She doesn't need to fight to have kids or sex, regardless of how sweet it could be, because all she wants is right in front of her, her husband, Ken. But then she adds, "Are we just saying this to not admit defeat?" And Ken replies, "And what if we are?" The episode ends with the couple smiling and holding hands while walking down the sidewalk, showing us that things like sex and having kids aren't necessary to be in love. These are both overrated concepts in marriages that only muddle the relationship. Kumi and Ken only need each other, and they will stay that way until the very end. Trust me when I say that there is a lot I want to discuss in the next video. I tried to bite my tongue on this breakdown so I don't spoil my thoughts on it and give you freedom to come up with your own opinions. But the third video will talk about everything I liked and hated about this series, and how it could have been better. Please like and subscribe for updates, and look forward to the final installment of my critique for My Husband Won't Fit. Take care. I left out the part where I had my third and final strike for me hating Kumi as a character. Usually there are like 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, you're out. I had the first 2 strikes in the first video, so where's the third? Well, can you guess where I would have put it? This entire half of the show is strike 3. I hated everything about Kumi, and that's considered the entire strike 3 for me. And I'll explain why next time.